What's up, everybody? It's Corey, host of the Grease Pole Podcast, back for the final week of the regular season. Week 18, that's a thing now, performance tiers. And because we dicked around, everybody knows, it came down to this game, whether or not the NFC comes to the link. Birds come away with the win. Fucking way closer than it should have been, given it's our starters for the most part against the Giants 2s and 3s, but end result is what you hope for, even if it wasn't the sexiest fucking thing along the way. So let's get into it, but before we do, if you are interested in why the following tiers are named what they are, click the link above and that will take you to the introduction to the performance tiers and give you the backstory in terms of why they're named what they are. So let's just get into it as we do each and every week, where we start with the Dawkins tier, where we find franchise records. And as we said, it wasn't a sexy win, but it was one that will go in the record books for a number of categories. You had A.J. Brown pass Mike Quick's 1,409 yards from 1983 for the most receiving yards in a single season in franchise history, finishing with 1,496. Devontae Smith passed Irving Fryer's 88 receptions in 1996 for the most receptions in a single season with 95. The defense added to its single-season sack record, finishing with 71, which is just shy of the all-time NFL record of 72 set by the 1984 Chicago Bears. And also, now we've got a new number for the most regular season wins in team history with 14, although it took the extra week to get it. This game wasn't pretty for a number of reasons, but end result, I can't remember a season like this, even the Super Bowl year, 2017, where the franchise record book is rewritten to this extent. Jake Elliott, the soccer player. Look, despite the records and the win itself, the offense looked pedestrian at times, and that's putting it politely. And that's against the Giants' backups. The offense kept having drives stall and fall flat, and Elliott was really the only difference on the scoreboard with 5 field goals. This looked like a Ravens game without Lamar Jackson, where damn near all your points are coming from the fucking kicker. The difference is the only starter that didn't play was Lane Johnson on offense, who's injured, and yeah, 2 of Elliott's 5 field goals were from 50-plus yards out, 52 and 54 respectively, and he also added shots from 22, 32, and 39. In a game where the Eagles starters should have been resting by the middle of the fourth quarter, it was the kicker. It was Jake Elliott that bailed them out, and that gives him his first ever mention in the performance tier videos, period, let alone in the Dawkins tier. Moving on to our guy, Commonwealth, Chris Long tier. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who finally returned, and his first game back since lacerating his spleen against Green Bay in late November. He made 7 tackles after missing 5 games. He's been missed on this defense, and, we've talked about this repeatedly. I love Reed Blankenship. He's awesome, but when you look at that game, on Christmas Eve, look at the game CeeDee Lamb had. Gardner-Johnson led the NFL in interceptions before the injury, and regardless of depth, when you lose a guy that's playing at an all-pro level, there's going to be a hangover, even if it's only a slight one, right? Not the kind where you got to chug 2 bottles of Pedialyte and get you a greasy burger in there, but enough to make you stop and think. And it was great to see Gardner-Johnson back in action and looking as if he was at 100%. The Nelson Aguilar tier. The fucking whole ass team, except Jalen Hurts. All right, QB1 gets a pass. He played because in his absence, the team failed to lock up the 1 seed in the NFC. And sure, he wasn't his usual self where, you see him use his strength to get those extra yards or extend the play. Instead, you see him go down 2 to 3 yards before anybody had a chance to touch him, which you wanted to see so that he'd be good to go for the playoffs. And I get why he played. You don't want him going to the playoffs having sat for a month, but you wanted to see the squad jump out to a decent enough lead to where the starters didn't have to play the entire game, especially against the Giants 2s and 3s. Like we said, ultimately the mission was accomplished, but you walked away wanting to see more. From September to December, the Eagles were the talk of the NFL. This was the most dominant, the most electric. the team that could beat you in more ways than any other team. And now, after the Giants game, you almost wondered if they're cooling off at the worst possible time of the season. And from the moment you found out the Giants weren't starting anybody because they couldn't move from that 6th seed, and Hurts was playing, you expected a comfortable win to enter the playoffs emphatically with an exclamation mark. And rather than make a statement, you walk away from this game with more questions than anything. The cheeks of the cheeks, the worst of the worst, the flaming turd, the Chip Kelly tier. Landon Dickerson. And look, 69's my dude. Like, when the Kelly Greens get released in a few months, like many Eagles fans, I'm already plotting whose jersey I'm going to get, and I've found myself frequently telling V that Dickerson's very much in the conversation for me. But Jesus fucking Christ, that ineligible man downfield call was a killer. And this wasn't his first of the season. The reason why this penalty in particular stands out is because it erased a 2-yard touchdown pass from Hurts to Devontae Smith that would have obviously padded the lead the Eagles had on the Giants at the time. And who knows where it would have happened from there. You know, and let me be clear. Dickerson's inclusion in the Chip Kelly tier isn't indicative of his game as a whole, just the penalty and the timing of it, because these are the types of mistakes that you can't make in the playoffs, and that's exactly where the fuck we are now. So as we look forward to the divisional round against the Giants for the 3rd time this year, it's do or die from here on out, right? Good news is you had the bye week to get right. Jalen Hurts was 5-0 this season against playoff teams. For those that said all year that the Eagles didn't play anybody, this is the 4th time the Eagles have had the number 1 seed in the NFC and have at least made the Super Bowl the 3 previous times, for whatever that's worth. A divisional round matchup against the Giants on Saturday nights next, and it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. You just saw San Francisco do it against Seattle, wild card weekend. And after everything we just said, kind of struggling against their backups, this game can't be seen as, oh, we're just facing the 6th seed here. You know, this time Jalen Hurts hopefully will be at 100%. It looks like Josh Sweat will be good to go, and Lane Johnson has returned to practice, which is fucking huge. So the only asterisk, it appears, the only asterisk to being fully, completely, 100% absolutely healthy is Avonte Maddox. But that, you know, it appears at least that the bye week will have served the Birds well when it comes to getting healthy. What are your thoughts on facing the Giants for a 3rd time this season? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for plenty of Eagles content coming your way throughout the playoffs and as free agency and the draft approach as well. Also, you can listen to the flagship, the Grease Pole Podcast, each and every Monday, where new episodes can not only be found here, but on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts as well. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned for more playoff content coming later this week. As always, go Birds.